Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hello, my name is Vonnie Kyle.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Right on. Well, my name is Vonnie. I am we'll say hard rock musician, starting to lean more hard rock these days, based out of Portland, Oregon.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just currently working on another EP and excited to be just really active right now.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of fun.
Definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about that in the middle part too. But let's go ahead. Let's start right at the beginning. What got you started into music initially?
Oh my gosh. I knew when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
I knew when I was 6 that I was going to be playing music all the time. Started playing piano, and in high school started playing guitar. Was really into Sarah McLaughlin and Jewel and all those ladies singer, the Lilith Fair type. And yeah, just always knew that I wanted to be on a stage and I wanted to play with a band, and realized pretty quickly that it's hard.
Oh yeah. Oh boy, don't I know it.
It's hard, but I love it. I love how it challenges me, and I love the evolution it requires that I can be one thing one year and then the next year, you know what? I'm going to try all these new things and be this kind of musician.
Yeah, very much so. Now, was anybody else in your house musical growing up at all?
Not really.
Okay, so you were first generation.
Kind of. Well, my mom, is kind of like a closet singer. My dad played piano really well.
Okay, so there was at least some musical dynamic in the house.
Yeah, there was definitely some of it.
Gotcha.
But growing up, there was definitely the parent-child thing of being like, well, that'll be a nice hobby.
Yeah. You're like, you can't be a lifestyle. You're like, but it is.
It is. And, then you get older and then it's like, oh, yeah, she's really doing that.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. Now, did you go to piano first because that's what your dad played and that was in the house? Or was that something you were interested in from the start?
That was it was kind of what was in the house. Actually, it was in my grandparents' house. I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' place. And I wanted to... I said, I want to be a singer. So they said, well, you're going to play piano.
Gotcha.
So we moved the piano into our little apartment in Burnsville, Minnesota. And I took about 9 years of lessons and, one day decided that was the beginning of a rock and roll career.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I guess, when did you move out to the Portland area?
2021.
Oof.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I moved to Oregon in 2020. September of 2020.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I remember driving out here, my partner and I, and couldn't see anything. I mean, it was all pure smoke.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, welcome to Oregon.
Yeah, no, that was an unfun time.
Yeah.
During an unfun time.
Yeah.
So.
It really was.
Yeah.
But, just probably the best time possible to pick up and move to a totally different state.
I guess, nothing was really holding anybody in one place too hard.
Yeah. No, it's like, well, might as well now.
Gotcha. And did you move out here for music, or was it opportunities you guys had?
I wanted to live in a city where, there was a lot of musical opportunity, a strong music community. I'm originally from Minneapolis.
Okay.
And there was a good scene there.
Yeah.
Little more, they have all kinds of music out there. It was a little more hip hop oriented.
That makes sense.
Which isn't really, great genre, but not my personal genre. And I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico for a few years, just as a reset, just kind of work on my craft for a while. And then when the pandemic hit, it was sort of time to reassess and figure out where I wanted to be. Went back to hang out with the family for about 6 months. Not really entirely by choice. I just got there on March 12th. And,
and then you were there.
And then there I was. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then decided to come out here, and I love it.
Yeah, I dig that. All right, now before we get into more of what you do in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Great.
This first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh my God, with my own money. I want to say Britney Spears.
Okay. Okay.
Say Britney Spears. Oops, I Did It Again.
Yeah. All right. Hey.
Was probably.
I was gonna say that's a quality album. That is one that when I revisit now, I'm just like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff happening in this that I really did not appreciate when it first came out.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
And then, what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the first 2 concerts I ever went to because they're both great.
Okay.
Very first one I ever went to was Shania Twain.
Whoa.
When I was 12.
All right.
The Target Center in Minneapolis, and it was epic.
Oh man, yeah, I could imagine that being incredible.
It was the Come On Over tour.
Okay.
So it was like, what were that entire record was hits. Like the entire record, every single song on that record was a hit, pretty much. Still the One, yeah. It was like
okay, yep.
Of Shania Twain. It was just amazing.
Oh man, I still catch myself singing that song from time to time. That is just she makes such good music. Shania, if you're watching this, please come on the show.
Yeah, please. I would love to see that.
Yes.
Second concert I ever went to. You ready for this?
I am.
Tom Waits.
Whoa.
My dad took me to see Tom Waits when I was 12.
Okay. Oh, cool dad.
Oh, yeah. I know. Still to this day, I really want to do a Tom Waits tribute show. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen in the next couple of years. So, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, those are 2 really
I have
cool
good taste
shows.
because of that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing those. All right, and then before we officially get into you in the here and now, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Oh man, I don't know. I just remember being a kid and just saying, "Well, this is what I'm going to do." Like,
okay, so you just
it was just always kind of a non-option. I just knew that was what my soul was telling me to do, and there's never really been anything else that's made me like, maybe I should change my career. No, this has kind of just always been it for me.
Fair enough. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and let's get into you in the present day. We are going to get a super, I'm pretty sure this is a super easy one out of the way. How did you pick the name?
The name? My name?
Yeah.
How'd you know it's a stage name?
Oh, I didn't. I thought it was your regular name. That's why I thought it was going to be so easy.
My legal name, I did not choose.
Fair.
I don't know. My legal name. Don't tell anyone. Siobhan.
Oh, okay.
Vonnie was always just like a nickname.
Gotcha.
That someone gave me. I don't know, 20 years ago, and it just kind of stuck. And it's easier to pronounce than Siobhan.
Yeah, very much so.
You ever see Siobhan written out?
Is it like SIAB? Is it like
close?
Okay.
SIOBHAN.
There it is. Yeah. No, it is a strange one on paper. Yeah. But still, your current the name that you choose to perform under is a very cool one. It feels very comfortable. It's like it looks good in font. I think that's something a lot of people kind of go half and half on realizing.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's easy to remember. So people are going to always be like, oh yes,
totally.
I know that for sure.
You can make a lot of really cool design choices with the letter V.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And then let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process a little bit. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a song started?
It's kind of varied over the years. I used to just write lyrics. Still, I do that now. I like to carry a notebook around with me if I think of it. And sometimes I'll just want to sit down with my guitar. I play some chords and I just kind of like, bleh, see what words fall out of my face.
Yeah.
And I used to work. Have you ever heard of Meow Wolf?
Oh, the name sounds so familiar.
It's like an interactive, immersive art experience with a big concert venue in the middle of it. And there's actually multiple locations now, but I used to work at the one in Santa Fe. Part of my job was just wandering around the exhibit wearing a lab coat.
Okay.
So like I looked like a doctor or scientist. And so I would carry a clipboard around with me.
Oh.
Part of the shtick.
Yeah.
But I'm just writing song lyrics like crazy the whole time. So
I mean, what a valuable opportunity to have.
Oh yeah, totally. It was great. That was my favorite way to write. And yeah, nowadays it's like I just like to keep my electric rig set up in my office and play around with riffs and just kind of see what happens.
Okay. And you play with a band now, correct?
I do.
Okay. Do you or is it predominantly like you write stuff, bring it to them, and they build out from there?
Yeah, it's mostly been that way. Nowadays, it's starting to, I have like my guitar player will send me something, and I'll kind of like try to come up with things to go with it.
Gotcha.
My bass player and I live together. And we work on things together at home nowadays too. So I'm sort of starting to venture a little more into the collaborative territory as far as songwriting goes, which is actually kind of new for me.
Yeah, okay.
It maybe it's just kind of like the control freak in me has always been like, I need to write my own music. But it's been really exciting, really fun to start working with other people.
Yeah, very much so. And have you been with the band that you primarily have now? Have you been with them for a while?
My bass player and we've known each other for many years. He's my partner, and we have been playing together since 2017.
Okay.
Since we both lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Everyone else I didn't start working with until I moved out here, and I've only been out, in Portland for the past few years.
That's
so,
fair.
But we're all very comfortable with each other. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To, form kind of, bands are like family.
Yeah, oh, very much so. Yeah. Very much so. Okay. So then like, as far as like getting a track put together, once you kind of have the idea flushed out, do you make a version that you can like just perform yourself, or do you immediately start working with the band on getting it like put together completely?
It depends on how much time passes after I write the song. Sometimes I write something and then I just kind of sit on it for like a year and see how I feel about it. But a lot of times if I'm really excited about something, I'll say, okay, here's this, like, what do you think we can do with it?
Gotcha.
Or like very recently, I had a new song that I wanted to work out, see what I could do with it. And the way I was playing it was very... kind of rhythmically the same thing all the way through. And so we sat down with it and made a demo of it. And it's like, okay, well, let's make these changes so things will sound a little different with a full band.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's always fun to experiment with different things. It's never, when I first write something, I try to make it so I can do either way, either solo or with a band, because I do play a pretty fair amount of solo gigs.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then once you get a track finished writing, so it's like, it's bell to buzzer, you're ready to like actually like kind of like get it like memorized. How long does it usually take you to feel comfortable enough to perform a track?
Not that long. I get real excited about performing the song. I'm usually performing them before they're released.
Gotcha. Okay.
I get very excited about them. Usually, it's not perfect the first time we play it. But that's how we a lot of times figure out what it's going to look like. Sometimes I just have to play it with the band a lot to see, what I want the vocal to look like. Because sometimes I'll write a vocal line and then 6 months later, it sounds very different.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and I think fleshing out live is something that like more people should be leaning in towards anyways. You can really like, a song can really, I think, develop over time on stage in a lot of ways.
Totally, because sometimes maybe vocally I want to work around what other people are doing. It's like, hey, I really like that bass line, or hey, I really like this riff that you're playing. I kind of want to make that stick out a little more.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes the instruments really add a lot to the melody that you can't hear until you've heard it a bunch of times.
Sure.
Yeah. But let's go ahead then and let's get on into some of your music.
Okay.
So I went on, ye old Spotify, and I checked it out on there. And you've got music going all the way back to 2021. And I really dig it. I really dig it. I think it's really cool. Your sound is very expressive. The guitars are all very like, sometimes a little swanky, sometimes a little thicker, sometimes they're a little on the dreamier side. And your voice is so good. It's super dynamic, and it's like it's definitely very apparent from the change, or from the jump from Say You're Alone to Is It. I think those are two really interesting realms of your approach to music, because there was a bit of a jump, but I think Imperfect Parts really kind of bridges some of that gap in there. That album, I think, really kind of explained a lot. And it's a really powerful album, both in presentation and in context. I think it was a really cool listening experience.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then I did check out your most recent track, Something More, which came out at the beginning of this year.
Yes.
And it's first of all, it's very befitting of the name, but it's a little darker, it's a little dry, it's more driving, it's more evocative, and there's a presence in it that just, it made me think of a few things, but I couldn't pinpoint it to any one sound. And so that was really cool. It had this very like comfortable but unique feel to it, as I feel like a lot of your music does, and especially that track and the track Is It. That there's definitely a sound that you're moving towards with those two that I'm really excited to see where it goes next, especially if you said you're working on a new EP, because there's this bite in those tracks. There's this energy and this explosiveness that it's really cool. I'm a big fan. Actually, I had a hard time I wanted to make notes about Is It as an individual track, but since it's not the most recent, I had to follow the format. But that as an individual track is really, really cool.
Thank you.
I am a big fan.
Thank you.
But I am curious to know, out of all the music you have available at the moment that people can hear, what are some of your favorite tracks?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, this next one that I have coming out in January is probably my favorite thing I've ever made. So I'm really excited for people to hear it. And that's staying kind of in the same vein as these last two songs, Is It and Something More.
Gotcha.
And definitely there was a jump from the Imperfect Parts record going into those next couple of singles. I was very focused on being kind of more pop rock for a long time.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, and then over the past couple of years, as I've been working on new material, I've been leaning more into the hard rock sound, which is just so fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
I think it gives you a really good opportunity to kind of, because like I said, your way of singing, your vocals, the way that you write, there is a lot of like depth in it. There's a lot of layers, and to be able to hear more of that expand, especially in the two most recent tracks, it's apparent that you've kind of always had a lot that you could be doing that I think even the earlier tracks up until the album didn't even really express well enough. Like there was something more in, like I said, in the album itself, you really get a lot of that. And the album, when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, there are a lot of layers here. And I feel bad that I didn't write down the name of it. There was that one track, it was like third from the last, where it's only like 42 seconds. It's all just vocals. And that was one where I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I appreciated the way that you put together the whole album and just kind of the way you approach music in general.
You want to know something fun about that?
Yeah.
42-second track, I guess. Yeah. I wasn't counting. Now I know.
Yes.
So that is actually taken from, there's another song on that record called Your Ghost Has Gotta Sleep. The vocals on, wow, even I am struggling to remember that. It won't be long. It won't be long.
There we go. Yes. Yes.
Those are background vocals.
Oh.
Taken from Your Ghost. So if you go back and listen to Your Ghost Has Gotta Sleep, you'll be like, oh, there's that song just kind of hiding out in there, just sort of chilling.
Now I'm going to.
The lead vocals and guitars.
That is really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And now you've already kind of touched on this. So this next portion here, we talk about music that you've got cooking. What are you working on at the moment? And what can we look forward to as far as like new sounds and things are concerned?
So I'm working on a full EP right now. The first 2 singles have already been released, obviously, Is It, and Something More. I've got another song coming out in January called Here and Still Alive. And I've played it for a few people, and people are telling me it's got very Queens of the Stone Age vibes.
Okay,
like,
that's a rad one to hear.
I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Thank you. So I've got that. I'm working on a cover that's going to be coming out at some point, and I'm hoping to get this record out sometime next summer.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Super excited.
Yeah,
I just got a grant to finish the whole thing.
Whoa,
so,
that's
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Super exciting.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. For this next one, then, I want to zoom out. I want to kind of look at more music as a whole.
Yeah.
What are some of the things about either new music, if you're one of those people taking in the new stuff, and if you're not, just music that's new to you, that you found recently, that you enjoy or you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
Oh, man, I listen to so many different things. And I listen to a lot of old stuff. I try really hard to keep up with new music. It's so hard because there's just so much of it.
Yeah.
Especially with, living in Portland, the local scene. I'm trying to keep up with everything that comes out of our scene. And there's definitely a lot of inspiration there, too. It's really cool to be surrounded by such a creative community.
Very much so.
Just so consistently in this day and age, especially, people are just cranking out new music super fast. So I try to keep up with all the local stuff, which is great. I'm like a not so secret Swiftie. You need to cut that out of this interview.
That's okay. No, hey, she has earned it and then some. She is definitely putting in the work.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just the way that she writes is it's fun.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of hate, but like the fact is she's cranking out a lot of hits.
Very much so.
And so I take a little bit from that, but I'm also, I listen to obviously a lot of Queens of the Stone Age, super into the new Jack White record.
Okay. Yeah.
Really into that. I like to listen to a lot of very guitar heavy music. So yeah, a lot of Foo Fighters and things like that. So those are probably my biggest influences right now. St. Vincent too. She released a really awesome record this year. I went and saw her in Bend, and it's like one of the best concerts I've been to.
I could believe it. She is phenomenal.
Yeah.
She's
just amazing. Every time, I think I've seen her like 6 or 7 times now.
Okay.
Yeah. Man,
that's
time. I'm just like,
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, before we move into the next portion, this next question is probably the densest question in the interview.
Okay.
We talked about your experience with music, the actions, the reactions, but when it's just you and music, one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Oh, man. I guess as time goes on, music is sort of a reflection of my personal growth. It's really strange to, you record something, and when you finish it, it's like, yes, I worked so hard on that. I love this. This is great. I'm so happy with it. And not that I don't stay happy with it, but years later I listen to it and I'm like, whoa, that is completely different from what I'm doing now. Or like, I would have done all these things differently. So now it's kind of fun to listen back because it's like, wow, I have matured so much, in these even like 2 years.
Yeah.
I have learned things. I've learned what not to do. So I guess as if we're going into like recording, if that's, in that aspect of it, I would say it's a reflection of personal growth. And also, in the writing, I would say, I used to write a lot of sad girl breakup songs, especially being, when I play a lot of acoustic gigs.
I was just that and being a Swiftie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I was doing it before I was a Swiftie. But yeah, I don't know. I guess as time has gone on, I'm like not afraid to. I used to feel like I had to be super impressive with like, well, people won't listen to this music unless I spend so much time perfecting all these crazy guitar parts. And then I'm like, it's okay to simplify things sometimes. And it's really helped me to grow in this current, in the rock genre that I have so much fun
Yeah.
being a part of.
Yeah, no, very much so. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
And for these,
All right.
sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Okay. So I'm going to give you a controversial answer to that.
Okay. Is it Kanye? No, I'm kidding.
No. Dave Grohl.
Okay. Interesting.
He's getting a little hate right now.
I mean, yeah, but he has definitely done a lot musically.
Yeah.
Like,
It doesn't. There have been some oopsies that
yeah.
happened that he, that's personal stuff. But as a musician, I would do bad things to have him drum on a record.
Fair.
Because he just like everything. He's such a heavy hitter, and just I've watched video of him. Like St. Vincent had him play on her most recent record, and she had this behind the scenes video of him just going nuts.
Yeah.
In the studio, and I'm like, yes, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That is what I want.
Well, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He's been, part of so many big things. Like, his experience in music is one that you can't just buy. He's had timeless amounts of effort put into it. So I think that makes perfect sense.
And I know that he's a great collaborator because I've seen him work with so many different amazing artists.
Yeah, very much so. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Oh, man. That's a really good question. I wasn't prepared.
No.
Locally, there's a local artist named Jay Graves.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
They haven't been on the show yet, but I am familiar. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to do a collaboration there at some point because they rock hard.
Oh yeah. Jay Grace, if you're watching, please come on the show. And actually, everybody, you know what to do. At them in the comments. Let's see if we can make this collaboration happen on both sides.
Make it happen. And I'm a sucker for a 3-piece.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a big fan as well because they can fit in the room really well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, and then, like I said before, for this next one, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. It was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Oh, my gosh. Probably a really sick festival. Which I have not been to many, weirdly.
Yeah.
They're,
I have a hard time with them because it's like either everybody I want to see is playing at the same time or on different days, or they're just like far away, or they're like so expensive. Like there's so many factors where it's like I'd rather wait for them and like 2 other bands to come to town and like catch them in a more intimate venue.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say as an introvert, I'm not that into music festivals.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a lot of shoulder bumping.
As a concert goer and someone who is kind of introverted, it's not always my thing. But as a performer and seeing what those crowds look like, seeing what kinds of lineups happen at these things, I would say like playing Coachella one day would be pretty baller.
Yeah, that would be rad.
Yeah.
Well, anybody, if you know somebody who runs Coachella, put them in the comments.
A guy.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you like an album from?
Another album? Nirvana.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Love to hear another Nirvana record.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen.
No. Would you have wanted it to come out like right after the last one did, or would you want it to come out now?
I would be really curious to hear what it would sound like now.
Yeah.
Given my deep love for Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I would really like to know what that band would sound like today.
Yeah.
After so much time, because, the 90s had a very specific sound.
Very much. And then some. And I'm always curious to know for like artists like that, for like groups where it's like they kind of didn't get to kind of reach past a certain point. Just what the changes would have been like. Because assumably if it was now and they weren't just taking a break, there would have been stuff even in between that. And like the progression through music, the changes in time. And then for some artists, I wonder how their like influence on those things would have even been.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much music coming out constantly every single day.
Yeah.
And it's like you have no choice but to evolve as a musician.
Well, more, I mean, like, I think there were some artists that were so influential that they would have affected the way that music continued to come out if they had continued to stay around.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I always wonder, like, what those changes would have been like and how things would have been different in that respect.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
That's yet another hypothetical.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
All right.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and June?
Oh, man, now in June. Well, hopefully I'll be done recording the EP by then. That's the dream.
Do you have a name for it yet?
Not yet.
Okay, that's fine.
I have like a working title, but like I think I probably go through like 4 different options in my head before I finally settle on one. And even when I do settle on one, I'm like, oh, what if I had played this other thing?
No, I definitely understand that. Then for this next one, go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on all the streaming platforms. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, VonnieKyle.com. Bandcamp is the most ideal one as far as streaming services go. But yeah, I'm pretty much wherever my distributor sends me,
Yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
I've got a show. I have a show.
Oh, okay.
At Holocene, January 9th.
Oh, exciting.
With Grimace and Kenzie Peach.
Shout out Grimace.
Yeah. Shout out Grimace, Kenzie Peach. They're great. Have you had Grimace?
I have. Yeah. Big fan.
Best.
Big fan.
And they're adorable. Oh. I just love them.
And then some. They are such a cool group.
They really are. Yeah. Adore those guys. So yeah, that's exciting. I got that show coming up in January, and we'll see from there. I'm just really focused on recording and just trying to play the occasional local thing to just be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Well, and since your partner is so involved in a lot of your music stuff, do you want to plug them while you're on here as well?
Oh yeah, David Badstubner. Call him up for all of your engineering needs, whether that's live sound or mixing, producing. He's very talented, and I know I'm biased, but I am just so happy with all of the music he and I have made together. The production, he's just a really gifted engineer and producer, and I feel very fortunate that I get to work with him every single day.
Yeah. All right. Now, with that being said, I do have one last question to go. Yeah. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Fabulous.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question.
I'm ready.
And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Okay.
But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a bit of a deep cut. It's one you think not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Are we talking like album, or are we talking song?
Let's do album.
Album.
Yeah.
Marry Me by St. Vincent.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Classic. That's a really, everything on the Marry Me record is just like, it's so weird, and it's art rock.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to pick a favorite St. Vincent song.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that is a quality album.
Yeah. Her music, her early music is just so wonderfully strange.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason why she kind of got to where she is now. You know what I mean? Like it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. This has been great.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Vonnie.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.